The word Durga is found in post-Vedic Sanskrit texts such as the Mahabharata and the Ramayana. But these references have nothing to do with Durga as the demon-slaying goddess. This narrative came much later in a section of the Markandeya Purana, 400 to 600 CE, known as the Durga Saptashati, the Devi Mahatmya, or the Chandipath, where Durga manifests as the supreme power and the creatrix of the universe. In Devi Mahatmya, Durga proclaims her preeminence as the supreme being. She says, "I resemble in form Brahman. From me emanates the world, which has the spirit of Prakriti and Purusha. I am empty and non-empty. I am delight and non-delight. I am knowledge and ignorance. I am Brahma. I am not Brahma." In the Devi Upanishad, 900 to 1400 CE, the goddess is thrust into her prominent role equal to Brahma. Celestial beings ask Devi who she really is after proclaiming that she rules the world. Celestial beings ask Devi who she really is after proclaiming that she rules the world, blesses devotees with riches, and is the supreme deity to whom all worship is to be offered, and that she infuses Atman in every soul. So this is what she says, or they're asking her, "Mahadevi, great goddess, who are you? What is your actual form?" And Sri Devi answers thus, "I am indeed the supreme Parabrahma. I emanate this world composed of Prakriti and Purusha. I am the Shunya, emptiness, and beyond the Shunya. This world is both Sat, existent or true, as well as Asat, non-existence or false. I am both Ananda, bliss, and Ananda, misery. I am both Vijnana, knowledge, as well as Avijnana, ignorance. I am the one who is recognized as Brahma and also as not Brahma, or I am the Brahma that everyone should know and also the illusion. I am both Panchakrita as well as Apanchakrita Mahabhuta. I am all the forms of all the elementals like air, water, earth, and as well as non-elementals. I am the entire visible world." She is everything. Sri Devi describes her incomprehensible form to destroy the ignorance of her devotees, the Devas. In Shakti and Shaiva traditions of Tantra, Devi is the Divine Mother, the Supreme Being, who represents the animating force of the universe. Without her Shakti energy, Shiva remains a Shava, a corpse. Without Shakti, Shiva is a corpse. Feminine energy activates, arouses the masculine. One needs to understand that if she doesn't exist, nothing does. If anything exists, it's her. Nothing exists other than Sri Devi. She is the one and the many. She is the only ultimate truth. So Tantra and goddess worship can be seen like two entwining fish. In these secretive practices, if these secretive practices have existed since the early humans, they also have been driven underground by the dominant culture and the patriarchy, while there are a few references to Tantra in the Vedas. Mostly it was practiced by the tribal, indigenous, and non-Vedic cultures. It's important to remember that early yogic texts were written by Brahmins, priests who were high caste, conservative men, often associated with maintaining order in society. In the past 10 years, there has been a shift in the interpretation of ancient texts. Instead of linguists who are mostly interested in Sanskrit texts, we now have, foreign scholars, female Indian scholars, and spiritual practitioners who've been studying deeper meaning of Tantric texts. And then new darshans, viewpoints, are emerging. Tantra became popular during the 5th to 6th centuries CE due to an overemphasis on, elite thinking in Brahmanical India, and ordinary people getting tired of being told what to do. So, villagers and farmers, they didn't really care if everything was an illusion, if their crops were being eaten by locusts or they lost, a goat while in childbirth, right? So they needed something much more practical, and a kind of peasant revolt occurred. And one of the most dangerous things also was the body to the Brahmanical culture, and it was viewed as impure. And even early Hatha yogis who practiced, tapasya, the austerities, they were doing it to conquer the desires of their own bodies, right? So Tantra is very different than early Hatha. And so with Tantra, instead of the body being viewed as something vile to get rid of, it is embraced, and in fact, the body became the vehicle for liberation in Tantra. So fundamental shift of philosophical thought at this time. But the extreme and unorthodox nature of Tantra practice meant that the sadhakas tended to be farmers, indigenous, low-caste people who were more often concerned about their crops than Sanskrit liturgy. At the heart of Tantra, fierce yoginis merge with Shaivite siddhas, who are called the Pashupatas. And they're fond of skulls and live in cremation grounds. So yes, siddhas, enlightened beings with supernatural powers, and they existed in India at this time, and they merged with goddess, with yoginis and dakinis, and so the last thing that Orthodox Brahmins would want to accept were naked, intoxicated, wild, undomestic women who indulged in taboo and transgressional practices. It's not surprising that these practices didn't make it into the mainstream Brahmanical texts. The Tantric movement gained momentum, and by 1200 CE, it became the most popular religion in India, and everyone practiced it, from peasants to royalty. Kings throughout Asia took Tantric initiation. And then Alexei Sanderson in the Shaiva Age, he writes, the early medieval period from 500 CE to 1300, 700 years, long time, right? Saw a decline in the role of sacrifice. Kings continued to accept their role as guardians of the Brahmanical order, but their personal religious commitment generally took the form of Buddhism, Jainism, or more commonly devotion to Shiva, Vishnu, the sun god, or the goddess. So while all forms of the goddess still exist in India, over time in some traditions, she has undergone a transformation from the wild, dark-skinned village goddess to a fair-skinned, coy seductress, demure, domesticated householder goddess. And, Lakshmi. And her wild flying hair has been combed and her uncontrollable, uncontainable energy tamed. In the 10th century CE, there was a shift away from the frightening Kapilika skull-bearing images to the more erotic or mystical emanations of yoginis in the temples. Early indigenous or folk practices were incorporated into more orthodox religions. The original fearful deity has merged with a gentler or more modest Narayani. But all manifestations of the goddess are Durga, regardless of the iconography. Shakti is the powerful dynamic force that pervades all existence. Shiva is the absolute formlessness itself. He is invisible, and it's his dance with Shakti that brings his energy and presence into form. The masculine is the container, the field, the one who holds space upon which the feminine Shakti is dancing. Like the Devi, Tantra is the warp of the loom, weaving diverse threads and seeing the essence, the unity behind all. Jai Ma.